Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video. We'll have a bit of a chat about what's been going on in Spain over the last few days or so while I take my dog Mia for a walk this morning. So let's go. Now I'll get the weather out of the way. As you can see, another grey morning in this part of Portugal. This is the normal morning, as you guys have realised from watching these walkabout videos over the last few weeks, and going to get up to around 21, 22 degrees Celsius today here, but in other parts of Portugal it is quite warm, and in Spain too. The third heat wave of the summer has begun in Spain, I believe, and lots of parts of mainland Spain on alert for high temperatures hitting around that 40-degree mark, so hot in Spain again. Now this is what you would call a classic vehicle, and here in Portugal you'll see quite a lot of classic vehicles just parked on the side of the road. So what's been going on in Spain over the last few days or so? Well, as far as government is concerned, not much happening there, unfortunately. Neither of the two big political parties in Spain, the PSOE party, of course, which is the caretaker government currently, or the PP, have been able to find coalition partners to get a majority in the parliament. I think the PSOE is the most likely party to be able to do that, because basically nobody wants to touch the right side of politics, or the conservative side of politics, I should say, with a barge pole. The PP, or the Partido Popular, has been trying to persuade some of the strong nationalist parties, for example in the Basque country, the PNV, but as I said, they don't want to have anything to do with the PP, mainly because Vox is involved also in that coalition. And interestingly enough, Vox yesterday or the day before came out and said that they're going to stand back, allow the PP to govern alone. They don't want anything to do with the government. They don't want any ministerial positions, I believe. I think that's what they said. But still, they're finding it hard to convince other political parties to jump into a coalition government with them. And I asked myself the question, why didn't Vox say this 2 weeks before the elections and not 2 weeks after the elections? That's what I'm asking myself, because maybe the result would have been different, just maybe. Now, when it comes to Mr. Sanchez being able to form a government, as we know, everything depends on the Catalonians, primarily Mr. Puigdemont, Spain's #1 fugitive who currently resides in Belgium. He holds the key, and one of the things that has popped up in the press recently is about Madrid wiping off the Catalonian debt. A lot of the autonomous communities in Spain owe a lot of money. Madrid holds the debt, or the central government holds the debt, and the PSOE government thinks that it could be a sweetener for the Catalans to pardon that debt and get their support. And this, of course, is infuriating a lot of Spaniards, especially the ones that don't like Catalonia very much in the first place. Now, while I'm on the subject of anti-Catalonian sentiment, I'll bring the conversation back to Vox, because Vox, as we know, is an anti-Catalonian party, or an anti-Catalonia as an autonomous community party, because the first thing that Vox would do if it were elected would be scrap the autonomous community of Catalonia, make Madrid control that part of Spain and take away all the powers that that autonomous community has. But as we know, Vox hasn't been elected to government, don't think it ever will, because as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, they did worse in these latest elections than a few years ago. So another political party in decline. And yesterday, one of the top dogs in that political party, Vox, resigned, said that he's getting out of politics, wants to dedicate more time to family, is the official version of events, but behind the scenes people are saying that he's just not conservative enough. Now, I ask myself the question, if this person is not conservative enough, how conservative is the political party Vox? What type of people are running that organisation? And to be honest, I'm a little bit concerned about just how ultra-conservative people in this political party must be. But luckily, and I'll say this again, luckily, they didn't get much of a representation in the recent election. So thank heavens for that. Now, another thing that has caught my attention this week relates to Spain's consumer ministry. I spoke about this ministry in a video the other day because they have decided to take on some of the low-cost airline companies that fly into Spain Ryanair, EasyJet, Welling, to name three. And the minister of this ministry, Mr. Garthon, has decided to double down on his actions against these low-cost airlines. Originally, it was because of hand luggage being charged on these flights, but now he's going after them because they don't have a free number to call should you have a complaint about these airlines. In Spain, apparently, there's a regulation that states that companies that offer customer service have to provide a free number that people can call if they have an issue with the service of that company. And apparently these companies are not offering a free service. It's a charged service, and that's what Mr. Garthon and his ministry are going to crack down on next, allegedly. So low-cost airlines and their business model, some would say a dodgy business model, in the spotlight again in Spain as the Consumer Ministry deciding to take them on. So we'll see how this one plays out over the summer, if any fines are handed out to these companies, if these companies pay the fines, and whether or not the cost of those fines is passed on to the consumer. Time will tell. Now, another thing I want to talk about today is the despicable act that we saw on the channel the other day that took place on the island of Mallorca in late July, of a man defecating on another man's head while this man was sleeping. A man walking past with his friends thought it would be a great joke to pull down his pants and do the business on a person's head. And I said at the time that I haven't seen many acts as low as this one. Not sure exactly where these tourists were from. I think they were from the Netherlands because the images were first posted on a social media account belonging to a Dutch person, so I think they were Dutch, but don't quote me on that. But one thing for certain, that they were not British, and a lot of people in the comment section saying hopefully that was not the case. Well, luckily it wasn't the case and they weren't British. And this, unfortunately, is just another ugly story that has come out of the Balearic Islands this summer. We saw a month or so ago the story of a woman in Ibiza, I think it was, that glassed a hotel manager, and that person ended up in hospital having a couple of operations. I haven't heard anything since about this story, not sure what happened to the alleged perpetrator. I think she managed to get back to the United Kingdom, but I suppose they are trying to track her down. Not sure, because it was a very nasty crime and you shouldn't be allowed to get away scot-free for doing this type of thing, no matter where you are and no matter how drunk you are. And again, that drunken tourism in the spotlight, unfortunately, where people just get out of control and do stupid things that they will regret for the rest of their lives, I imagine. And unfortunately, bringing a bad reputation to the Balearic Islands, the islands of Mallorca and Ibiza, as I said, unfortunately. But what I will say is that I really feel sorry for the people that have to live on these islands and put up with this rubbish tourism, especially if they're not involved in that industry. It must be an absolute nightmare to have this type of rubbish surrounding you on a daily basis in the summer months, or at least that's my opinion. Now, the final thing I want to talk about today is food. We've had a lively discussion on some of the live streams over the past few days about food in Spain. An article popped up the other day in the Spanish press about some of the foods that foreigners, when they visit Spain, don't like to eat. And one of the foods mentioned was black pudding. Popular in Spain, but apparently a lot of tourists don't like to try black pudding. And of course, as a result of this discussion, people started mentioning the types of food that they like the best. Lots of people saying which types of cuisines are the best. One person saying that Spanish food by far is the best cuisine in the world. I don't agree with that. And this person also said that in his opinion, English food is absolute rubbish. And I also don't agree with that. Okay, you might not get the same variety that you get in a Mediterranean country, obviously because not all of the ingredients have traditionally been available there. But what I will say is that on all of the occasions that I have visited the United Kingdom, England specifically, I have eaten fairly well. There seems to be good quality produce and some decent chefs in the UK. However, yesterday a video popped up on my feed, and it was a video of a British chef, a British celebrity chef. I think his name was Phil Vickery, cooking a paella on one of the morning shows on UK television. And I'm going to say straight off the bat that the paella that he cooked looked fairly bad. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this chef is not a capable chef, that he can't cook other dishes well, but the paella that he put on the table yesterday was not up to scratch in my opinion. The ingredients look good, they look fresh, he had seafood in there, he had other ingredients that looked decent, but it was the way he cooked the rice. You can't cook a paella that way, especially the rice, because it ended up all soggy and mushy, and that is what you don't want in a paella. So a basic error committed by that celebrity chef yesterday when it comes to Spanish food. But the good news is that he didn't put chorizo in the paella like another celebrity chef did a few years ago, and that really got Spaniards upset, who said that you should never put chorizo in a paella. Let me know what you think. But anyway, let me know what the Spanish dishes that you like the most are, whether you like a paella, whether you cook it at home, whether you cook a decent paella, let me know. And also some of the other things that you like to eat when you come to Spain, and some of the foods that you don't like to eat also. If you don't like black pudding, let me know. Or if there is another thing that you don't like to eat in Spain, also let me know. On that note, I'm going to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. If you have anything to add to the conversation today, the comment section is the place for you. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego, at the logo from a cloudy Portugal.